Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
Alyeska Pipeline Service Company, sustaining Alaska's pipeline and its operations today and into the future.
The National Weather Service.
Hello, and thanks once again for joining us here at KAKM Studios for Friday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy. Try the new websites before July 6th here. We've got a revamp to all the web pages here for Anchorage, Fairbanks, and Juneau. And you can go to each one of these web addresses and take a look at them and see what you think. One thing I learned, you have to spell weather right, or actually you have to spell the entire address there correctly. And so moving on to the not the fire danger map, but the flood advisory, or the flood warning for Mendenhall River remains out through tonight until about 8:15 Saturday morning for the flooding conditions along the river that's been occurring. And again, it's out until 8:15, which time they'll take a look at it again and either cancel it or kick it out longer. For the fire danger map, now we've got some areas of high fire danger across the deltas, both the Kuskokwim, around Bethel, and up to the north there near the Yukon. Also the Seward Peninsula, back in this area, temperatures warmed well into the 70s, some cases the lower 80s through this zone today. So from Noatak Valley areas right in toward the Koyukuk Valley, high fire danger there with temperatures approaching 80 degrees again, like at Kiana, and some patchy areas here along the southern slopes of the Eastern Brooks Range there in the upper Yukon Valley. Also up along the North Slope, where temperatures today in brilliant sunshine reached into the mid-70s. Otherwise, with all the rain, no fire danger now here over southern Alaska into the Kuskokwim Valley and on down to the coast. Also, of course, the Panhandle looking pretty good as far as fire danger goes for the weekend. And for the satellite imagery today, a couple of systems, one spreading rain into the southern Panhandle, that sliding northward here throughout the afternoon. Heaviest amounts occurred over the southern areas, with Metlakatla picking up about 9/10 of an inch of rain, with 1 to 2 tenths occurring at Sitka and Hoonah, for example. By contrast, otherwise this band right through here, that's what brought the wetting and soaking rains to many parts of south central Alaska on up into the central interior and back along the Alaska Range. That slid southward there toward Bristol Bay this afternoon, northeastern Bristol Bay. Not bad temperature-wise here along the southwest coast up into the Yukon Delta. Showers Kodiak Island, and break right through here. Some pretty good sunshine across the Alaska Peninsula today as temperatures rose into the 60s. But St. Paul kind of hanging in the fog throughout the afternoon, but St. George was warmer with no fog. And then out here to the west, a lot of cloudiness, kind of a weak front right through here with an area of light rain, fog, and drizzle associated with it here over the central Aleutians, and beginning to slide off to the east there toward Nikolsky, with clouds extending back to Shimia, but not much wind associated with that at all. Then you can see kind of westerly flow here along and off the Arctic coast, but pretty good clear skies right out to the coastline this afternoon. Again, as I mentioned, over the North Slope, right back southwestward across Kotzebue Sound to the Seward Peninsula, and even St. Lawrence Island seeing some sunshine, allowing temperatures to rise. For the analysis, we've got high pressure just southwest of Gamble, and otherwise northerly flow on the eastern edge of that high pressure zone bringing some dry air southward. You can see a lot of sunshine or more clearing over the Yukon Delta than there was to the southeast, and we had the moderate showers. Thunderstorm activity pretty isolated through the afternoon, just maybe here along the Alaska Range, a couple of strikes up over the north interior areas right about there, and a strike or two off to the east with mostly cloudy skies, scattered showers over the Copper River Basin. Gulkana picking up about 0.6 of an inch of rain in the last 24 hours, and anywhere from 6 to 9/10 of an inch fell at Eagle River, Wasilla, and Palmer earlier today, and then that shifted westward here by midday with the heavier showers and rain occurring over the western Alaska Range and still down into the Cook Inlet area. And again, periods of rain, cloudy skies across all of the southeast coast, again the heaviest amounts occurring in the south. And then the system down here, clouds gathering with that, will push northeastward tonight toward the Queen Charlottes. Otherwise, look for cloudy skies, showers across the Panhandle, all the way over to about Yakutat. Drying out here over south central Alaska, much like we've seen this afternoon. Just a few scattered showers lingering over the Kenai Peninsula, possibly the Talkeetnas, maybe the Chugach. Isolated thunderstorms western Alaska Range, maybe the Kuskokwim Valley with some shower activity from Iliamna down toward Kodiak Island, also up here over the northeast interior, but nothing significant at all up there. Staying pretty nice here back to the west and down into much of the western interior areas. Northwest winds should be possibly clearing will result from that here along the southwest coast, and then some rain advances eastward here with the front pushing in toward the eastern Aleutians. But really this is a very weak front, about as weak as it can get, and have it still drawn on the map here. Really no wind associated with it to speak of, but there is a little bit of precipitation. And so that for tomorrow, I just dashed in a trough there. Really just falls to pieces here. Even the precipitation field becomes much like the wind field is, which is just about non-existent. Could be a few isolated showers around Unalaska, maybe Kodiak or Adak and Atka. Otherwise, Kodiak, chance of showers during the day tomorrow, associated with some moisture right through here. Actually, the remnants of what's coming southward today and tonight, and that kind of spills off to the southeast. So better chances of showers probably during the morning hours, but westerly winds keeping it nice here along the Alaska Peninsula. Could see an increase in low clouds and fog there on the Bering Sea side over what you saw today, which could probably keep temperatures down a little bit there. Areas of low clouds and fog, IFR possible anywhere over the Bering Sea, but staying pretty nice up around St. Lawrence Island. Could see some sun again. Yukon River Valley areas on out to the coastline, not too bad, but kind of a concentrated area of moderate showers and possible thunderstorms there from the central interior down to the Kuskokwim Valley, Kilburk Mountain areas, and again extending southeastward. And showers developing in the afternoon, mostly cloudy skies with a chance of a thunderstorm over the northeastern Copper River Basin and maybe up toward the Eagle area. And then more rain with this system moves in possibly beginning late tonight, but definitely tomorrow will be wet over the southern Panhandle, more showery to the north. And then looking ahead to Sunday, that system swings on into western Canada, so partly sunny, scattered showers to the southeast coast. For Sunday, more of a gradient here now over the Yukon, and looking for the winds to kick up to 25 knots through Lynn Canal. Otherwise, the rest of the area is looking pretty light wind-wise. Light winds from the North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, Cook Inlet, down across Kodiak Island. Light winds also here for the Alaska Peninsula and the Aleutians. A weak system out here will keep it kind of showery and definitely cloudy. There are some IFR over the western Aleutians, but just no gradient at all out here. As you can see, just one isobar across the southern Bering and the Aleutians. A little bit more of a gradient up through the Bering Strait to St. Lawrence Island, so it could see some small craft advisory westerlies in that area from the Strait down to Savunga on Sunday, but mostly sunny here, Yukon Kuskokwim Delta, right up the west coast and across the north slope, and some scattered thunderstorms developing and showers, mostly cloudy skies, if not just flat out cloudy along that green zone here to the west from the Alaska Range. Some of that could work eastward to the western Cook Inlet area. Otherwise, a partly and mostly sunny day, south central Alaska, Copper River Basin, isolated showers over the mountains in the afternoon, and again, risk of some thunderstorm activity to the north. For the temperatures this afternoon, with the clouds and rain all in the 50s here across the Panhandle, except up north. Haines had 63, as did Yakutat, Skagway 64. Over at Cordova, 65 degrees, Valdez 63, 58 over at Whittier, 61 in Seward, 58 degrees this afternoon at Kodiak, about the same in Homer, 54 in Kenai, and 57 at Talkeetna. Copper River Basin areas, Gulkana 63, McCarthy up to 70, same thing at Northway with a 68 degree reading this afternoon at Fairbanks, 66 at McGrath. On up to the north, you can see temperatures contrasted from west to east here with 50s over the eastern interior, some upper 60s like at Arctic Village, but a lot more sunshine back to the west, allowing battles up to 77. 79 there at, 78 at Caltag. I think that's possibly Hoosleo at 79, 75 Ambler, 79 at Kelly, right there, 63 over at Deering, otherwise lower 50s, Kivalina up to Point Hope with sunshine, mid to upper 50s along the western Arctic coast, Barrow up to 55, up to 52, at 75, 30 degrees cooler over at Kaktovik there with 45. Otherwise, Savunga, 57 this afternoon at 63 at Kipnuk, 73 in Bethel, 72 this afternoon at Togiak with upper 50s to lower to mid 60s here along the Alaska Peninsula with the sunshine, 57 on Alaska. A little bit of fog, 49 there at St. Paul, but warmer at St. George, upper 40s over the Aleutians. Lows for tonight, not much change in the 40s out west there with mid 50s to upper 50s here in the warm zone from the northern Bristol Bay areas right up across the Kobuk Valley, Koyukuk eastward to Fort Yukon, forecast low 57. 40s and 50s to the southeast, lower 40s or upper 30s for the Arctic coast and North Slope, 50s for the Panhandle. Highs for tomorrow, 50s, lower 60s here for the southeast. Cooler probably south with the incoming moisture clouds and rainfall. Back into the 70s here, Kuskokwim Bay, Bethel, northward across the Yukon Delta, St. Lawrence Island, again looking really good as far as the north central interior areas, and the North Slope back into the 70s to near 80 tomorrow, cooler along the coast. For flying weather tomorrow morning, a lot of IFR here across the Panhandle, IFR along and just west of the Alaska Range, which puts it in the Kuskokwim Valley. Pretty good elsewhere over the interior. Watch for some marginal stuff approaching the western Arctic coast. IFR out over the central and western Bering Sea. Not much change out here for tomorrow afternoon. The marginal stuff near or just east of the Pribilos, VFR, the Alaska Peninsula, right up into the Bering Strait, and some marginal VFR getting a little closer, hugging the coastline up there tomorrow afternoon, and from Fognak Island with the clouds, showers, and isolated thunderstorms here into the southwest. Otherwise, look for some IFR to show up over the southern Panhandle while conditions clear up to the north. For Anatuvik, VFR tomorrow, same forecast for Adigan. Lake Clark and Merrill, marginal at times, rainy though, VFR to start with. It looks like becoming marginal in the afternoon with a chance of thunderstorms. Windy, VFR. Isabel looking good. Open for Mentasta as well. Tanita, VFR. Portage, VFR with westerly flow developing. Chilkoot and White, marginal, becoming VFR. Freezing levels, 6,000 feet here over the eastern Gulf of Alaska and about 6,000 to 8,000 over the Panhandle areas, roughly 10,000 over much of the interior, 8,000 over the Bering Sea. So really not much of a thermal gradient across the Bering, Aleutians, and the interior, and that is partially responsible for the very light wind field that we'll be seeing here over the next several days. And for icing threats, above about 10,000 feet here with the moisture out to the west, coming down toward the coastline into Kamishak Bay, Lake Iliamna, and some near, mostly east of the border here to the east, and then with the moisture sliding up with the next system above about 7,000 feet of the Rhine variety over the southern southeast coast. Jet stream, westerlies here across the Pacific, south of our area here with an upper level low out over the western Aleutians, quite weak. Southwest flow there, 40 knots on the western Arctic coast, but pretty light here over much of mainland Alaska and the Panhandle. 9,000 foot winds, light for the southeast coast, really light here over the eastern interior areas to northwest, 10 to 15. Kicking up to 20, 25 knots here coming across Kodiak Island, and high pressure light winds over the Bering Sea, low pressure and light winds over the southwest Bering and the Aleutians. 9,000 feet, showing much the same pattern. Very light winds most everywhere here with a low out to the west. High pressure, light variable winds, St. Lawrence Island, northern Bering Sea. West-northwesterlies here across Kodiak Island, just 35 knots clipping Sitkinak. Otherwise, not much wind at all, just 0 to 5 here. So very light over the interior as well as the southeast coast. Turbulence-wise, winds pick up, Dixon entrance south across the Queen Charlottes. That may lift northward tomorrow night. Otherwise smooth in the interior, possible mechanical turbulence along the Aleutian Range, Alaska Range, and I probably should have extended that up along the east side of Kodiak Island, all below 4,000 feet. After the break, Hanger Flying, I'll be back with the marine forecasts.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary O'Connor with the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation and the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health here in Anchorage. On behalf of Alaska Public Media, thank you for watching Hanger Flying. This evening, we are honored to have Ross Nixon back as our guest. Ross is the author of a new book called Finding Carla, the story that forever changed aviation search and rescue. Welcome back, Ross.
Hi, Mary. Good to be back.
On our last show, we talked about the accident that led to the development of the requirement for emergency locator transmitters, or ELTs, on aircraft. Can you give us some background about how Carla's story led to this legislation?
Sure. Back, this book, Finding Carla, took place in the 60s, this event. And since 1964 is when an FAA bulletin came out about ELTs and the feasibility of it. And then Pete Dominick was a senator from Colorado. He was the flying senator, they called him. He was a World War II naval aviator, 5,000-hour pilot, and he knew that ELTs would save people. And there'd been a series of accidents where airplanes went down, the people survived and were missing. And so from about 65 on, Pete Dominick wanted to get ELTs in airplanes. He knew that they worked. There'd been some tests, and they were using them in Vietnam. And so in the back of my book, I have all the Senate records, and you can read how he increasingly became frustrated because there was a lot of foot dragging on the part of the Federal Aviation Administration, some of the airplane associations on mandating ELTs. You know, nobody likes a new law, nobody likes changing things, nobody likes spending money. But he could do the math and he could see that, these, in an ideal world, they'll take the search out of search and rescue. So for a few years, these accidents happened in the lower 48 and there were people that lived for a day or two afterwards, and then, they perished and then their plane was found, and, a little bit too late. And then this accident happened in March 67, and 6 months later, after the plane was found, it was discovered that the people, Carla and her mother especially, had lived for almost 2 months in the wreckage, and they were beneath an airway. There were over, several thousand flights over the site of this accident over the 2 months, but they had no way to signal their predicament. And so finally, this was the clincher here. Pete Dominick was outraged. In 1967, 1968, he raged in the Senate, got some other senators involved, Senator Warren Magnuson from Washington, and then Representative Ottinger from New York. He also was behind this, and they just, raised Cain, and finally got legislation promoted mandating ELTs, and that was signed in 1970, that ELTs be mandated aboard all civil aircraft in the United States. So, and it was because of this accident. It was so shocking.
So basically, they proved what a lot of people knew was common sense and needed to be done.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, some of the definitive ELT tests were done on this site, the exact site of this accident, and they found it, the planes took off from Reading and they found it within 40 minutes, it's several tests.
Wow.
So ELTs work, they're not perfect, but you had to start somehow, and that's what this book is about.
So this book, you and I have talked, and there are many safety lessons that we can take from this story, not just the ELTs. So the NTSB investigation yielded several probable causes for the accident, so maybe it could have been prevented in the first place. Can you talk about some of those things that maybe weren't in position in the late 60s but have improved so that this wouldn't happen again?
Well, you know, I don't know about saying wouldn't happen again, because, you know, no matter what, it seems like we're going to have incidents and accidents. And, you know, but since then, the technology to get weather information is phenomenal. And I would say that would be one of the huge things here, because, you know, back then they had, you know, there were flight service stations and, you know, weather coming in on teletypes. And, you know, nowadays we have, you know, we have personal computers that we can carry with us. You know, we can look at weather cams, you know, we can get some really up-to-date information. You know, we get the weather that is as updated as a flight service station gets. You know, we have things like ForeFlight that we can use in the airplane, some of the, you know, just modern technology that gives us up-to-the-minute weather. I think radios are a lot better nowadays too. You know, back in the 60s, I don't want to date myself, but I grew up, you know, in my folks' airplanes too, and, you know, the radio tubes and things like that. You know, they did have solid state radios then, but, you know, I think that radios are better nowadays. So, you know, the communications and informations, I think, are better, and so those are two things that I can think of that would help.
Yeah,
so,
they definitely make sense. We are running out of time, so we will be back on the next show, and we're going to talk about some more safety lessons that can be learned from this accident. So thanks for being here, and thanks for sharing the story with us.
Thanks for having me. So.
Thank you.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching Hangar Flying. Please tune in to our next show, where we're going to talk with Ross Nixon about some more of the ways that we can decrease search time and increase the chances of being safely rescued. Until next time, fly safely.
Wind-wise, we're looking at mostly a westerly component out here along the coast, 15 to 20 knots. Sea's not too bad, running 6 to 8 feet. Southeast 20 in the forecast there for Clarence Strait with 5-foot seas. Southerlies through the central and northern inside waters at 15 knots. Then those winds pick up for northern Lynn Canal to 25 knots there, especially in the afternoon hours. Seas building to 5 feet. Westerlies here for the coast, 10 to 15 knots. A little breezier there for the south coast. Seas running 6 to 7 feet. Southerlies 10 to 15 over the central and southern inside waters. And for Saturday, light southwest breeze up Cook Inlet tomorrow afternoon. Otherwise, kind of starting out light and variable. Light variable winds here for the North Gulf Coast. Variable to southeast, Prince William Sound at 10. Westerlies at 15 from Kamishak Bay in the Barrens. But I got 30-knot winds in the forecast there for the east side of Kodiak Island. Small craft advisories for Shelikof Strait as well. Then for Sunday, southwest 20 there. So coming down a little bit, but still 5-foot seas through the strait. Light westerlies here for Kamishak Bay and the Barrens, 10 to 15. Carrying small craft advisories through Sunday for Kodiak Island. And light variable winds continue for the North Gulf Coast. Southwest up to 15 in the afternoon for Prince William Sound. Going out to Bristol Bay, west 25. So small craft advisories in this zone. Also from Sitkinak to Castle Cape to Cape Sarachev here for the Alaska Peninsula. West-southwest at about 20, 5 to 6 foot seas. On Sunday, westerlies here at 20 knots. Just about all zones, southwest 15, so a little lighter from Castle Cape to Cape Sarachev there, with seas 5 to 7 feet and lighter on the Bering Sea side. For the eastern Aleutians, north of the islands, light variable winds tomorrow, southwest 15. Otherwise, that extends all the way back to Adak and Atka and beyond, say to Kiska or Amchitka. Probably Amchitka, west of there, light variable winds at 10 knots under a very weak low pressure center. And that light wind pattern not only holds for the western zones on Sunday, but also extends all the way east to the Fox Islands. Just light variable winds with 2 to 5 foot seas here. So really light laid down wind day coming up for Sunday, which may last into Monday as well. And for the southwest coast, south of Nunivak Island, west 25, 5-foot seas, light variable winds for the Pribilofs, northwest 15 there for St. Matthew Island. And from Nunivak Island northward, actually probably all the way up to the Bering Strait, northwest at 20. And then for Sunday, those winds with more gradient pick up to westerly at about 25 there for St. Lawrence Island. Otherwise, west-northwest 15 to 20 for the coast. Light variable winds for the Pribilofs, southwest 15 for the northern Bering Sea, specifically around St. Matthew Island. Kind of a variable wind pattern here for the central and eastern Arctic coast, 10 to 15 knots with 3-foot seas over here in the open water areas. Southwest 15, 3-foot seas on the west side, and Cape Beaufort to Cape Thompson, southwest at 20, and from Cape Thompson to Wales, westerlies at about 20 knots. And then for Sunday, east-southeast, 10 to 15 here for the central and east side of the coastline there, eastern Beaufort Sea coast. Light northerlies here on the western coast, northeast at about 15 there from Cape Thompson to Cape Beaufort, and then south of there, westerlies picking up to about 20 knots in the afternoon with 4-foot seas. And for tonight again, scattered showers, isolated thunderstorms this evening right through here. Back over the mountainous areas of the southeast interior, drier, sunnier back to the west to north. Moisture sliding eastward with a very weak front there, bringing chance of light drizzle, rain, or fog to the eastern Aleutians. Kind of showery back to the west. Showers for the Panhandle for tomorrow. Chance of thunderstorms, moderate showers through this green shaded zone here, extending down toward Kodiak, Fognak Island, gradually improving through the day. More rain slips on up into the southern southeast coast, dry to the north and back to the west across the north slope.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.